Hey friends, TedBlock here. If you're looking at this video, it probably means that Julie and I helped you buy a house. And so I am here to explain your closing gift. Welcome to your perfect home. The object of the game is to make your community the best it can be. And that's something that Julie and I are highly supportive of. So, as we go through the game, it can be played with up to 100 people, or as few people as you want. It only takes about 25 minutes, and it's not a very complicated game. It is a lot of kind of solitaire, and you're playing against each other to see who made the best choices throughout the game. It's called Welcome to Your Perfect Home, but it's kind of more like Welcome to Your Perfect Neighborhood, because what you're going to end up doing is writing down numbers onto individual houses, and you're going to collect pools, collect gardens and parks. Let's get into general ideas of how this game is going to work. It's a flip and write. Flip and writes work like so. I have 3 different decks. I flip over a card for each deck, and then this presents us with 3 choices. We can either take this pair, or this pair. Everybody acts simultaneously, and everyone can pick the exact same thing. So if everyone wanted this 14 pool, everyone can do it. And everyone has their own sheet of paper that you write down your numbers and actions down on. And that is the flip and write section of the game. Every action is going to be picked by every player. So if I wanted to take this action, I could, and so could you. We can all take the same action, but we don't have to. We just simultaneously pick. The player board itself is separated into 3 different streets. And you have your smallest street, your medium-sized street, and your largest street. You also have representation of all of the actions on the player board itself in various spots. So let's say I take the 4 pool action. What that means is that I have to write the number 4 anywhere on the board on top of one of these houses. Ideally, I would put the number 4 in a house that has a pool in the backyard, because that is the action. But we'll get into what the actions are in just a second. But the actual gameplay is you're writing the number down on any one of these sets, on any one of these houses. The biggest constraint is that on each street, you have to go in ascending order. So ideally, the number 1 would be here, and the highest number in the deck is 15, so the highest number would be here. But there aren't 15 slots here, and so you're going to get a little bit muddled on where you can put them, and you're going to have to kind of guess. So the 4 pool, I'm going to put at the beginning of one of these streets, so one of these earlier pools, if I want to get that pool. Once it's filled in, you just have to make sure that now that the 4 is here, only 3, 2, or 1 can go here, and everything bigger than 4 can go on this street. But each street is completely independent of each other. So just because I have a 4 here, it has nothing to do with what numbers are on the middle-sized street. Let's get into what the actual actions are. And rather than use these decks that we're going to be using in the game, I pulled out each individual action here that could flip. Starting with the parks. Parks, let's say I have a 3 park. I might write my 3 here, and then I will mark the park as the first park of this street. At the end of the game, I will add up whatever numbers are at the end of the street. So if I ended up getting 2 parks for this one, and I ended up getting all the parks, all 4 of the parks in the middle street, I will write the number that is remaining here, 4, down here, and then I will write 14. I'm doing this upside down, so I'm sorry if these are backwards. And then I got 0 for the last street, so I'll write 0, and I will add up these scores down here, giving me 18. And that's the parks. Pools. If I write let's say the combination was a 7 pool, I might do 7 here, and I will circle the pool. However, none of the times that you select are you forced to take the action with the number. So if I got stuck and the only place I could put a 7 was somewhere without a pool, I will probably write the 7 somewhere else and then just not have the pool part of the action done. But since I did have a pool here, I would write the next X down here of the first available pool. And I will go all the way down in order until I get to the end and I've used all the pools or not. And at the end of the game, the lowest number that is still revealed is the amount of points I will get for pool. So if I only get this one pool, I will get 3 points at the end of the game. But if I get all the pools, I could get up to 36 points. That's pools. Construction, or as the game calls it, temp agency, allows you to manipulate the cards. So instead of having like the pairing, let's say the pairing was 5 with the construction, I can go plus or minus up to 2 on that number, which gives you flexibility when placing. Let's say I had an 8 construction, and I wanted it really badly to fit between the 3 and 7. I could turn that 8 into a 6. Is that a 6 upside down? Sure. And now it fits here, and I mark the construction down here. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most X's in the construction area will get 7 points, the second most 4, and the third most 1 point. If there's a tie, you just group them together, average the two numbers, rounding down, and split those points between both players. Fences. Fences, whenever you have a number paired with the fences, it does not matter where you put the fence action. So let's say it was an 11, and I went here, or we'll say here. I put my 11 here for some reason. And then the fences can go on any one of the streets, and you just write a line, like so. And that created a fence. Now I have a grouping of 3 totally enclosed numbers, which will affect my real estate at the end of game scoring. I'll get to that in the very next action, right here. Real estate. Real estate doesn't matter, again, the pairing that you use. So let's say I have a 10, I write the 10 here, and it's paired with real estate. Now I go to the real estate portion of the board down here, and I mark off the top number of any one of these. So I just made a pairing of 3, so maybe I'll mark off this one. And now at the end of the game, all of the totally enclosed means that it's wrapped in a fence, so the exterior is already given to you on each street, this first and last line of every fence. And I have 3 digits totally filled in, so for that I will get 4 points. And if I had another 3, like so, and I had numbers, we'll say 1, 2, and 3, then that's another one, I'll get 8 points total for my groups of 3s that are filled in. That could be, and I could upgrade it again and again, and then my groups of 3 are now worth 6 points at the end of the game for each. One of the most lucrative ones is the singles, where if you upgrade the real estate 1 time, each single that's enclosed is worth 3 points, but you have to be taking a lot of fences to do so. And then lastly of the actions is the biz, which I don't even know what that stands for. Business address maybe? And again, where the number and the action go, totally independent of each other. So let's say it's paired with a 9, I'll write the 9 here. What biz, the action, allows you to do is to copy any number on your board next to that number. So maybe I'm having trouble finding something next to this 7, like I put an 8 here at some point, which was really silly. And now I can't fit anything in between 7 and 8 because there are no half numbers in this game. So using the biz action with this 9, I can copy the 7, and then I'll write biz right here, showing that's where I did the biz action, or maybe just a B, however you want to do it. And I will write an X on the lowest number here. The problem with biz is that it's so flexible, and it actually speeds up the game, that you get negative points the amount of times you do it, and it scales awkwardly. So don't take too many bizes or you'll get a huge negative amount of points, even though there might be some benefit because you're going to fill out the whole board before everybody else. Which brings me to, now that I've gone through all the actions, how does the game end? The game ends in one of 3 ways. One way is one player has filled in a number in every single house of the board. The game ends. Normally, everyone takes the exact same amount of actions, but if you keep taking bizes, you're going to take 1 extra number per turn compared to the other players, allowing you to finish the board faster, maybe hurting the other players in the game. That is about all the interaction in the entire game, is how you can speed up the game. Second way the game ends. The goals, which I haven't talked about. When one player has finished all 3 of the goals, the game will also end. And lastly, if someone cannot play on their turn, they go over here, they mark an X saying, I could not play. The first time it is free and you'll get no extra negative points. The next time you can't play at the end of the game, you'll get -3 points. And if you can't play 3 times in a row, the game ends that round and you will get -5 points at the end of the game. All of these red sections are negatives at the end of the game. This one is an optional variant, which I'll talk about at the very end. And those are the 3 ways that the game could end. So let's talk about the goals. The basic goals are set up into decks of 1, 2, and 3, which are shown on the board here, 1, 2, and 3. In this one, if I have 6 houses that are fenced in together that are all fully numbered, and I have another group of 6 that are fenced in and fully numbered, and I'm the first player to do so, I will get 10 points. Anybody else that does that in that same round will also get 10 points. But in future rounds, everybody else that completes it will only get 6 points. You'll mark that number here on the corresponding goal. So for the first goal, I would write 10 or 6 points here when I've accomplished it. And once I have accomplished either the first or secondary places of all 3 goals, the game could end. And there's various sizes and differences between them. There's actually different point values. I just happened to select a bunch that are 10, 11, 12 like this, where they just go up by 1. But they're cheaper points for the 1s and more expensive for the 3s. One of the weirdest rules about this game is that once I have accomplished this goal, I can no longer subdivide this or use this for another goal, which is why I selected these. So if I complete this goal, and I have a set of 6 and another set of 6, I can no longer use one of those 2 sets of 6 that completed this goal for the second goal. I have to get a 3rd set of 6 and a 4th set of 6 if I were to use this exact combination of goals. When you play the game, you have a deck of all 3 of these, you'll shuffle them and only have 1 per game. There are some more complicated ones as well that are an additional variant. That have to do with actions or like the amount of parks on a street and things like that. Very easy variant, very fun. Once the game has ended, you go down to your sheet, you add up all of your scores, subtracting your negative points, you have a total, and whoever has the most points wins. And that's welcome to your perfect home. A couple other little tidbits about the game. These are your player aids. They're front and back. They have little ads. They're cute. But on the back side, the meat of it, it explains what all the actions are, in case you forgot, how to do them, and then it also tells you how the game ends, in case you forgot, and most importantly, it tells you how big the deck is, how many 3s there are, 4s, 15s, things like that, the frequency of the numbers. Very important. The extremes have less. So there's a lot more 7s and 8s than there are 1s and 15. So good to know. Other little fun thing about all the cards is that as you're going through the deck and you're flipping through them, this says that this is an 8 construction, but you get to see what the back of the card is. So you'll know what the future actions of the next turn are. You know there's at least going to be a fence, but you don't know what the number is that's going to be paired with it. And that's it. So you've been playing Welcome To and you think, I'm ready for the advanced variant. The roundabouts, that's what this is. Up to 2 times per game, you are allowed, in addition to taking your action, to create what's called a roundabout. A roundabout allows you to reset a street wherever you'd like. So you'll put in a fence, you'll put in another fence around one home, you'll put a big 0, and that is the roundabout, which you'll signify down here that you've done 1 roundabout. And now I can do a set from lowest to highest on this side of the street and on this side of the street. Notice that on this street, I've got a group of 5 basically set up and another group of 5 basically set up just by putting this 1 roundabout here. It gives you extra fences, it gives you more flexibility, and it does speed up the game because it allows you to take another space on a home during the same turn. I really like roundabouts. I think it adds that amount of interaction that I was missing in this game because it can allow you to play a little bit more aggressively and force the game to go a little faster than everybody else wants you to. So that's roundabouts.